Welcome to the Deep Leadership Podcast. Today I'm joined by Hortense le Gentil. Hortense is a global executive leadership coach, and she has helped CEOs, senior executives, and emerging leaders close the gaps between the leader they are and the leader they want to be. Now, she is the author of the widely acclaimed book, Aligned, Connecting Your True Self with the Leader You're Meant to Be. And I am excited to have her on the show to talk about how leaders can find better alignment in their lives and their careers. So Hortense, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be with you tonight.
It's an honor to have you on the show and to talk to you about this subject and the book that you wrote. But before we dive into the book, I just want to ask you, you have 30 years of experience working across a number of different industries, media consulting, advertising, you're an entrepreneur. Where did you develop your passion to help leaders and to coach leaders?
Whoa. Oh, this is a journey. It's not like one day I wake up one day and decided that, I'm going to coach leaders. And no, really, I think it's a journey, a personal journey and professional journey. And at one point, I realized that what I learned from me personally and professionally could really help others. Because on my professional side, I was working as an entrepreneur and in corporate. So a lot of things. And personally, I am very passionate by spirituality, psychology, and human behavior and everything like that, and neuroscience. So everything mixed together, I found very helpful for me. And one day I just realized that I could really help, people. And I in fact, it was my calling, but I didn't know about it. So it's really one day, like a puzzle, or, all the pieces come together and make sense. Yeah, it was at that moment.
So you did a lot of things and then you found your passion.
Exactly. More than my passion, I think I would say, passion is a bit different from me. I would say my calling is really my calling. I found it like, okay, this is what you should do, what you're going to be good at, and everything. It's like everything that I learned in my journey led me to be, and do what I do today.
Interesting. Very good. Very good. We've talked to a lot of authors, a lot of coaches, and we find a lot of them have an interesting journey to get to this area of leadership coaching. But they all, when they find it, it's sort of like a light bulb goes off, and it's like, this is what I should be doing with my life. So it sounds like you've had that same experience.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Fantastic. Your book is called Aligned, Connecting Your True Self with the Leader You're Meant to Be. Why did you feel compelled to write this book, and what was your inspiration for the idea of putting this together and communicating this with leaders?
So my trigger was, I remember very well, I was still in France at that time. I was still in Paris, and I was talking with l'assistant of one of my CEO, and she asked me, where can I find you? Because I cannot afford, you cannot coach me, but I would like to learn from you. I'm very interesting. And John, I was so ashamed because at that time I didn't have anything. And in Paris, it's not the same culture. So you don't talk too much. When you are a coach, you are more like in the shadow. And so it was not part of our culture. But I felt like that's not right. I cannot just, help 10 or 20 or 25 people only, because I can do more. So this is when and where I decided that, okay, I have to write a book. And I tried to write this book to help as much as possible people. It's the book, you have some tools, you have some exercise and everything. So it's really, the purpose of the book was really that, to help others and more people and more and more and more.
It's interesting you said that, the idea of being able to influence more than your close-knit environment, because I've talked to a lot of people on the podcast that say sometimes we need to get a book out, or we need a video, or we need something that we can get that influence greater than just the people that we are around. Like for a coach, you might have 30 clients, right, that you're working with on a regular basis, but there's hundreds and hundreds of leaders out there that could benefit from this information. So the idea of a book is to get, it sounds like you said, it's more eyes on the material that you typically teach leaders.
Exactly. And yeah, exactly. And each time, someone give me a feedback, and even if it's not leaders like we think about, like leaders, CEOs in large company or not large company, but you are the CEO of your life. You are the leader of your life. And often I have even young people who just told me, oh, I wrote your book and I had my aha moment. And, I understood something, you opened a door to me and things like that. And I think, this is the reason why we are here. In fact, it's ready to help people. So I think this is the reason why you write articles, books, we talk tonight and things like that.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and I agree. It's get more people, more eyes on it, more awareness to it, and I think that's great. And so I commend you for it. It's hard to do, to write a book and to spend all that time doing the research and putting it down. And people, when you see that final book after a long process, my books have taken 2 to 3 years each to write, and it's a labor of love, because it seems like it's easy when it's done and it's in a book, but there's so much of a process in between, from the start that they say I want to write a book to when it's done. It's like a marathon.
Oh, oh, is it? Yeah, it is, exactly. And I wrote a second book, and I just finished the manuscript. I gave back the manuscript somewhere. So I feel again like exactly like you said. I say, oh my gosh, after 2 years of, working on the book, and for the same reasons. Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So what does it mean? So the book is called Aligned. So what does it mean to be aligned?
That means to be, I like to say that it's like being in the zone. And, when you're a surfer, even if I don't surf, but I think everyone can catch that. When you're a surfer and you catch the perfect waves, we can see, that, if you look at the picture or, in movies, whatever. So it's like you're flying, you are exactly where you should be, the right time. And it's everything makes sense at that moment. And you feel joy, you feel successful, you feel well, you feel doing something different. And this is, what is about alignment is really being in that zone where that it's the right things to do. You are connected with your values, with who you are, your why, and everything makes sense.
Mm.
It's like, just before we were talking about when and how I became a coach. It's really at that moment, because everything changed, everything, the dynamic change, because you feel empowered. You feel well, it's the right place to go. So you feel like you're flying, you're in, and so you are successful and you are powerful, and you can help. First, you help yourself, and you help, others.
Interesting. I guess I would say, I did 22 years working in corporations, and I guess the longer I was there, the more I felt I was misaligned, I guess the best way to say it. And when I started my own business, and once we got it running and I had employees and we could do things our own way without the constraints of a big corporation, I found that feeling, like you said, everything was going fast. It was exciting. I felt like I was where I was supposed to be my whole life. Like I was sort of like a square peg in a round hole for 22 years. And I was finally in the right place, and is that what it feels like when you're aligned, that you feel like you're right where you're supposed to be?
Exactly. You're right where you're supposed to be. And you don't ask the question to yourself, because you feel it, and I like that. It's like, I like to say also that it's like the door open. So if you don't fight all the time, all day long, and you feel, happy, you feel good, it's because you're aligned. If you spend half of your time fighting, you're not aligned. There is something wrong. So look, take the time to reflect on that and think about it. So maybe, like you said, maybe this is your driver, your why, or your values that you don't share in the company, or with the company. So that's possible. Or maybe this is only something you don't share with your direct report or your team or whatever. It could be personal. So you can sometimes not be aligned with your personal life or things like that. So yeah, it's all about that.
I would imagine that there's health benefits, whether it's mental health or physical health, when you're aligned versus when you are misaligned. Is that the case when you're talking with leaders and you're helping them, and when you get them sort of where they're supposed to be? Is there like a weight off their shoulder, and do they feel less stress? And is there like, I'm just curious, because I think for me at least, that's the way I felt. I was like, oh, okay, I was banging my head on a wall and I stopped doing it, and it felt better. So,
Much better, right? Yes, exactly.
right.
Yes, exactly. This is exactly that. And the day you align, the day you authorize yourself in a way to be aligned, to be yourself, it changed everything. And yes, your health changed also. And I had exactly the same experience as you. When I was an entrepreneur, I was like fighting and fighting against it was something political. I didn't realize that I couldn't do anything. So I could fight, but I will lose anyway. And it's at one moment, a friend of mine who told me, why are you hitting your head on the wall all the time?
Yeah.
That's all right. And I realized that. I said, oh my goodness, I was sick. I was really sick. And I realized, I said, okay, step back. What can I do differently? Where can I have some impact? Not with the government, for sure. So let's try another solution. And I found another solution. I was aligned with the solution and it worked. I didn't have to fight. And I was fighting for months. So exactly like you said.
So you're an equestrian, so you ride horses. How is alignment and horse riding? What's the analogy there? What's the similarity there?
Well, it was like a lot. I think the first one would be maybe, the empathy one, and how you connect with your team. I'm going to give you an example. I had months ago, I went to a leadership program with horses because I'm passionate by horses. So I wanted to know what it was. And the exercise was, okay, so you have a horse, you're in a field. First, we draw a square, on the ground, a big square, not very small, but a big square on the wall. And not on the wall, sorry, on the ground. And so the exercise is to have the horse without rein, without saddles, without anything, go, do 2 loops around, the square, and go inside the square and stop. So it was the exercise. So you have to do that. So you do that as a team. So I had a team. So where I had 2 people with me. So what we decide first is make a plan. So what should we do first? Okay, we want to go there. Okay, so all together, what is the plan? How can we go? How can we go there? So you had a plan. So because we cannot communicate, it's exercise. You cannot communicate, you cannot touch, you cannot do anything, you cannot talk. The only thing you can do is, maybe have some gesture, a little gesture if you want. But with the horse, you are very, very careful, because if you do that, the horse, is going to react. And so you learn about the team, how to make the plan, where to go. And so all together, so we decided that I was leading, the horse. So I was by the horse, walking by the horse, and the team was behind me. and just trying, to do to follow the horse and to follow me, not pushing too hard, just as a team to go to the same direction. And I was there, just by the horse, and I was just decided in my head, okay, we're going to go there, blah blah blah. So the first time we failed because we were almost there, but when it was time to stop, the team continued to push too much, so the horse didn't understand. He looked at me and I was surprised, and so I didn't, I was not connected anymore with the horse, like you should be, as a leader, connected with your team. And so, okay, the horse said, okay, so I don't understand what you're meaning, so I continue. So we debrief, we talk with the team again, and we learned, what was wrong, and we did it again, and it worked. It's hard because we went there, do twice the loop, and after go to the center. And here I remember very well because we work very well as a team. They were not too pushy, not that they're ready exactly where it was helpful for the horse and for me. And me, I was ready, connected 100% with my horse, and it was like I was talking in my head and looking at him and say, okay, we got there, we're doing that, and this is what we are going to do. So I was very decided. And what was funny was I remember when I entered this, you can imagine, so this square, so the horse for one step, two step, and my body language, because you learn that also, you learn about the body language. My body language was telling the horse, because my head was telling my body, go slowly, go slowly, to explain that we are going to stop. You're not going to stop like that. You are going to stop. And this is exactly how it came to my mind and how I communicated with the horse. And it worked absolutely perfectly. The horse just stopped exactly the same time. And it was amazing, in fact. And this is what you learn, in fact, with horses. So you don't have to do this exercise if you don't have to, or you don't want to. This is not the problem, but just it's an illustration, thank you, of sometimes it's hard, of how you communicate, in fact. And this is what you learn, in fact. You learn to communicate, to listen, to work as a team, because the horse and you are two beings, you work. So you learn a lot. You don't realize at this moment, but it's after you realize.
Yeah, it made me think a little bit as you were telling that story. When I worked in these big corporations, a lot of employees, a lot of different conflicting goals, we had to have meetings a lot because we were trying to get aligned. We were trying to communicate, and we were forcing ourselves into rooms together and trying to understand where each party was coming from and what have you. But in a smaller company with a startup, we have a very clear vision. We have a mission. We know exactly, and everybody's on the same page. And like you were saying, like we just body language, and we have a lot less meetings because we're connected and aligned as a team more than I ever was in a corporate environment. So it's less of words being spoken and more about just like I said, body language and how we deal with problems. There's not a lot of words that have to be spoken when you have a team that's really aligned and focused and on a mission. Is that something that you see as well, or is that kind of an example of that?
Yeah. I would add that it's really aligned behind a common why, mission.
Yeah.
As a leader, you give the vision. This is what we are looking for you. And you give the vision, but you're not going to do it alone. And so I think your example is great, because this is what's happened in a startup, because we are all in the same vision and mission. So we know. So this is why we go there, because we know exactly where. So, and we feel like you are part of the company. You know that you're doing that. It's for this purpose, because we are going there. It's like, I like to say that, as a leader, you are like the captain of the boat.
Mm.
And so you are your crew. So, and your crew, they know exactly. So if I do that, okay, I'm going to help in that way. So it's exactly that what you're talking about. And so you are this captain, you give the vision and you take care of others or your crew. And behind this mission, vision, whatever it is, purpose, your why, you understand. So you are motivated. You know that each morning you wake up and you say, okay, yes, I know why I'm waking up. Why I wake up is because, you know, I want to make a difference, or because I want to achieve this mission, or you know why. It's being part of something. Yeah, it's very important, I think.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It really does. Yeah, and I think about the horse looking at you as the leader, just saying, "Okay, what are we doing next?" You know, and as a leader, I've noticed, you know, been doing it for 3 decades, is that every eye is on me. You know, just watching to see how I'm going to react, how I'm going to respond, what time I show up to meetings on time? Do I do what I say I'm going to do? Do I wear my safety equipment when I'm in the manufacturing plant? So every eye is on you, and they're looking for those little cues as to what, you know, they might listen to your words, but they do watch you very carefully on your actions. And I think that's another side of it that I thought of, with the horse looking at you to say, okay, what do we do next? You know?
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good lesson, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, you know, we've faced a ton of uncertainty for the past 3 or 4 years. It seems like there's something new every month that comes our way, and you know, and there's a lot of change. And so, like, how do we deal with that as a leader? So we're talking about alignment. You get all your alignment, your focus, you're on something that makes sense in your life, everything's flowing, and then there's a shift, there's a change. There's COVID, there's a political unrest, there's you know, some sort of supply chain disruption, something that throws it to a loop. How should we be thinking about alignment when it comes to change and shifts that are always going to be coming our way in the work world?
I like to say that when you cannot go outside, go inside.
Mm,
So it's all about this alignment. So I think your alignment is your why,
mm,
is your driver. Why you're here, what makes sense to you, again, what are your values, how you want to remember. If you stay, you know, it's your true north, in a way. If you stick to that, you refer again and again to that, especially in time of uncertainty, you have more chance to stay aligned, because we are disaligned in a day sometimes.
mhm.
And doing, I like to give, you know, my daily checking. I like to say that every day we should just, even if it's 5 minutes, but take 5 minutes to reflect on your why, on your day, on what went good, not that good, what you would like to do differently. And I think this is the only way, you know, in time of turbulence, in a plane, you are asked to put your mask first on your face before helping others, right? If not, you cannot help others. So uncertainty, and every 5 minutes, as you say, something happened. So what you do? Okay, go inside, and take your, you know, take your weakness, no, your force from here, and take your force and say, okay, realign yourself. What did I do well? Am I on track? Not on track? And this is the only way to do it, I think.
So get back to your why, your purpose, and even if the world is changing, you know, your purpose remains the same. And now, how do you achieve your purpose in this new shifted environment? Is that more what you're saying? Is go back to the base of your purpose?
Yes, go back to the base. And after, I have a client who do it, for example, okay, it takes 5 minutes every day, 5 minutes to reflect on, you know, what he decided to work on. So, and he said, okay, I did well, not that well, blah, blah, blah. Okay, 5 minutes. But 5 minutes is enough to stop, to, you know, and go back to, you go inside yourself. And every Friday, it takes 15 minutes to think about the week. Same. Okay, what went well, what I should do differently, and it stopped there. On Sunday, it takes another 20 minutes, 15 minutes to reflect on the week forward, upcoming week. So, okay, what did I learn from last week that I'm going to, change the following week, and so on and so on and so on. It's a great way to stay grounded, to stay connected with your why, with your what is important for you. Because if not, in a day, so much happens that you can be, like the boat, you can lose your true north, right?
That's exactly what I was thinking about, is the idea of a ship, is that you will take and you will see on a chart where you're at on a regular basis, so that you don't go adrift and you don't end up being in a place where you didn't expect, right? Where there might be rocks and there might be shallow, right? So you're correcting your course on a real-time basis, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, to make sure you're staying on course to your true north. And I like that a lot. It's this idea of correcting, but not waiting till you're miles off course before you try to make that big correction. And I think a lot of people do that. They ended up finding themselves in a really stressful, why am I here, what am I doing, how did I get here? And it's because they weren't doing those small corrections throughout the week and the months to be able to stay on course. That's a great analogy. I never really quite thought of it that way, but it does. That makes a lot of sense, especially in a time of a massive change, is to kind of go back and review. Am I still going on the course that I set when I went on this journey? So interesting. Yeah, I like that a lot. One thing I'm thinking about as I'm listening in is, trying to find your true north, trying to find your purpose so that you can align yourself to it. I know for me, I came out of the military, and it took me a long time to figure out what my true north was. And eventually I found it, but it was really 7 years going from I knew my mission in the military. I knew exactly what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it, to 7 years of trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And when I found it, it locked in, and everything was aligned to it. But it really took a long time. And what would you give for advice for people who say, I feel like I'm unaligned right now. I feel like I'm not going in the direction that makes sense for myself. Are there some steps that they can go through to help figure that out, to find their true north, to find their purpose, and to align their activity towards that purpose?
The first thing I would say is really to take the time to stop and reflect. And first, accept the fact, it was the same for me, that it's a journey. So if you don't find the answer tomorrow morning, it's not because you are stupid. It's just because it takes time. That's all, and that's absolutely normal. But if you want to make a step, a bigger step, or begin somewhere, I think really I would encourage to stop, take the time, and think about, okay, what is important for me? Why I am here? And I like to give a little exercise. Well, it's not a little exercise, it's a hard exercise, but example to remember how you want to be remembered as a leader. And the exercise is not fun, but it works very well, is to think about your eulogy. How do you want to be remembered? What do you want people to tell about you on that day? And doing this exercise, you realize that, okay, that is important for me, that I don't care. So it gives you at least, some clue where to begin. And in fact, after that, it's very simple, but in a way, it's simple. It takes time, but you make it more simple because you know what is important for you. After just the thing is to try to define, try to write down in a, in a sentence or something, what you learn from that and what is important, and try, and after you adapt and you see what you can adjust. And there are a lot of exercise that you can do after that. But I mean, this is a good beginning. If you begin here, it's a good beginning.
I love that. How do I want to be remembered as a leader? What legacy do I want to leave the people that are working for me? And I like that because I always think of, bad bosses leaving all these problems in their wake. Wherever they go, there's just problems. And the good bosses, the good leaders will empower people, bring out the best of them. They'll bring their get to help them achieve their full potential. And so when you leave an organization as a good leader, all these people have advanced in their life because of that leaders being there. And so people leave such a negative they leave a lot of negative when they leave an organization, and some leave a lot of positive. And I think what we try to do in this podcast is we want you to leave a positive legacy on the people that work for you, that they can, they can grow, they can achieve their full potential, and they can learn from you as a leader. And I really like that. And how do I want to be remembered when I'm no longer here in this organization? What do I want to be remembered for?
Even when you die, so because your eulogy is, you
Right.
die. So when you pass away, what is important? And when you pass away, I'm not sure that people are going to remember you as the one who increased the Wall Street percentage and numbers. I don't think so. But you will have someone who will maybe surely tell a story about, he was there. I was feeling that. He saw me, he talked to me, or he gave me, or she gave me this advice, and it changed everything. And I think that as human, at least me, as a human leader and as a human being, I think this is what is important. It's really, connecting with those people, those person, and make a difference.
I love it. That is so great. It's really helpful advice, and it really makes you think about what you want to be doing in your life, and the impact you want to make on others. And that's a great way to think of it. It's a great example. I haven't thought of it that way. I love it. That's a great example. Hortense, how can people find out more about you and this book and the future book coming out soon, I'm sure? So tell us how we can find out more about you.
Okay, so thank you. So so I have a website. It's hlgconsulting.org. And also I am on LinkedIn, and I am a little on Instagram and Facebook, but much more on LinkedIn. So I think that's the best way to reach out to me.
Okay, fantastic. And we'll put links in the show notes for those resources. And wow, really, this has been a great discussion. And I appreciate you coming on. The book is called Align, Connecting Your True Self with the Leader You Were Meant to Be. And if you're feeling misaligned, if you're feeling like you don't really know your true north, or you're not really walking down the path of where your purpose is on this earth, then I really highly encourage you to get this book, get yourself aligned. It's better for your mental health. It's better for your physical health, as we've discussed. And it's certainly a better place to be when you find your true north and you're walking towards it and moving towards it. So Hortense, thank you very much for coming on the show and sharing this book and sharing this idea of alignment. I think I learned a lot. I know our listeners did as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, John, for having me today.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for listening to Deep Leadership. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and share so we can continue to build a world with better bosses. Until next time, this is John Rennie saying take care and lead well.